Hello again, it's Linda Ockwell-Jenner here, co-founder of the Small Business Community Network, and I'm here tonight with Steve Bentley, Northern River Financial, and we're the hosts for the SBCN Small Biz Perspectives, which we're going to be bringing you via the video every couple of weeks. Hi Steve.
How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited. This is our first real topic that we're going to touch on because
Absolutely.
the
I'm
last
looking
one
forward
was
to it.
the last one was an introduction, right?
Absolutely.
So we chose the topic of starting a small business.
Yeah, I think we might as well start at the beginning, right?
It's a really good
let's start with some of the things we should think about.
So, what are some things that you thought about when you decided to start your business?
Okay, and I think it depends on your stage of life, right? Yeah. I think people are, either coming out of university getting into business, or they're single mom, or they're a couple, or they're making a career change. So I think they really need to seriously look at, if they make a change, how is that going to impact their family life and everything that they're doing? Yeah. Making sure that it's something they can do. But people should find ways to do it, because it's amazing how you can be creative when you do it. But you need to know what it is you want to do.
Why?
You need to understand why. You need to know that you can do it. Mm-hmm. And you need to know basically how to go out and engage people and actually bring in people to
I think that's a really good point, because there's so many people being laid off from jobs all over the world, not just in Waterloo region. So basically, are you going to maybe start a new business as, say, a graphic designer, but not really be interested in it because the money doesn't come fast enough? And then if you've got some clients, let them down. So you've got to think short term and long term. How long are you in this for? So we're back to the planning, preparation.
Right.
We know the why. Now how? Now, as you know, I started 2 businesses with no budget at all. I built 2 businesses from scratch. In your case, you may have had the financial backing to start your businesses. Is that right?
Not in the beginning.
Not in the beginning.
I came out of a corporate position and certainly had some assets behind me, but it was really starting from scratch. And, that wasn't at 25 years old. That was, in my late 30s. So I needed to really get serious about it.
You needed to pay the bills.
Absolutely, because I got to replace the income, right? Yeah. The typical thing is, they say small businesses really, to get successful, take at least 5 years of your committed effort.
Actually, it sounds terrible. It's more like 10 now to be financially stable.
Yeah, but I mean to actually get to where it's actually something you can work with and work forward with. Right?
And a lot of people give up before the 5 years. Well, my advice is this. And we were talking about hobby businesses earlier, so we'll go back to that. But my advice is this: don't spend a lot of money in the first couple of months. You don't need to spend money. You've already probably got a computer. You stay with that computer. You can do your research to find out, as we talked about before, competitors and target market, stuff like that. So you don't really need to spend a lot of money. But say, for instance, you've got a storefront, you need to get a location. I guess, would you get a business loan to maybe, would you look into a business loan?
Yeah, the challenge when the business is new, it's very hard to get business loans, right? Because why are they going to lend to you? Really, you have no track record, you have no ability. So you have to look at that. See, that's one of the things you have to look at when you start a small business, right? Where is the money going to come from that's actually going to pay the expenses related to the business, right?
And it's not good to really take the mortgage money, because, your wife or your husband or partner would not agree.
But I always say to people, you need to start small, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to go into a retail location, that's a big commitment, because there's a lot of expenses. But doing your homework will at least allow you to understand whether you have the financial ability to do it. I'd rather see people do that than just to go launch into it and then realize, oh my, I don't have the money to be able to keep myself going.
The other problem I think arises is we're very passionate about starting the business, but we don't realise the work involved. Now, I'm going to be really brutal here, people. There's a lot of work involved for building the business. It's not just, you get a location, you get a computer, you get a website, and the clients start coming. So what are some of the things you think people should start looking at before they even try and sell?
Well, whether they can or not. There's the first thing, right? Because some people just are not able to sell, right? It's not a relationship game only. You've got to ultimately know that what you're going to be doing is going to generate some revenue, right? But start and look at things, and don't go out and spend a lot of money. I always say to people, they think, well, I've got to go out and get a lot of marketing material and a lot of brochures and stuff. Yeah. That's a lot of active money that really, you don't even know why or how that's going to be used, right? So start simply, and I think talking to people and finding out other people in that business line, because you may not know some of the things you need to know. And so you really need to do the homework to find out things that you need to answer before you even know that it's viable.
And if you do go and get a lot of marketing material, you get a lot of stuff printed, your brand is probably not built yet. And even if you've got an idea for a logo, a business name, and the look and feel, you're probably going to change your mind down the line. So again, I think to plan ahead, short and long-term goals, and start thinking, where can my brand take me? Can it take me into the next 20 years? We've just both rebranded for reasons because lots of things are changing in business. So think about your brand, but don't go out and start getting things printed and marketing materials. I don't even think the online not the online resources, but the online, say, social media, it's not good to jump in there either and think you can sell on there because nobody knows who you are.
Right.
Why am I going to buy from you, Steve? I don't know you.
Well, that's what I say. People say, well, I need to have a website. And the first question is, why?
Well, you don't need a website.
But how do you know what you need? How do you know how you're going to use it?
Yeah.
How are people going to know it's there? You can't just put a website out there and expect people to know it's there, right? So
questions.
it's all about the brand and building that whole package around it. Like you said, it's not just the logo. It's not just the website. It's a message. It's who you are, and you have to really have an intrinsic and complete message to be able to put forward to people. And there can't be variances from it, right? People have to see that solid message and that commitment. So before you go out and just do it, understand why and how to do it.
So this is where, we can't go into it in detail tonight, but this is where we should talk about the business plan from A to B to C in a later episode, because you're an expert with that. I know this sounds awful. I never started off with a business plan with motivational steps, but as I went along, I had to do a business plan, obviously, for many reasons, but I managed to get through, but it's good to have a business plan. So would you say then, before people start looking for clients, before people start trying to sell, the business plan, the research, looking at what other people are doing, looking at if you've got enough money because you've got to pay your bills, networking's good, but don't try and sell when you're networking in those early days. Get to know people, and also people are looking for a solution, aren't they? So we have to find out what solution you're looking for.
Correct.
So if you're not a people person, how do you find those things out?
Well, I think people need to realize, is there a demand for the product or service that I'm putting out there, right? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, or maybe there's a better way of doing it. So that's part of the research and understanding. And again, looking at your business and looking at the fact you take web developers or people in graphic design, there's lots of people out there. Yeah. Some are successful, some are not. What has made those people successful? What is their uniqueness? Yeah. And so that is a difficult thing to really capture, is what is very specific and unique about your solution, product, or service that people are going to gravitate towards. Because if you are just run-of-the-mill and vanilla, you're going to have a real challenge.
So do you think, this is what I say to people, make a list before you even, say, I'm in business and start, giving up your day job or whatever it is. Make a list of all the things you've got to do. And it's a long list, isn't it, Steve? We've just been through it.
Right.
Connect with people who've already got businesses. That's a really, really good idea. So what we're saying really is you're not really going to be in business, working on the business for a couple of months because you're doing all the planning and preparation, aren't you?
Right. And it's funny that there is a lot of that information out on the internet to be able to find that information and to know what to ask and to know the list. But you talk about lists, right? You start a list, you create a business, you launch a business, but I'm still making lists.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or I'm modifying lists because you're always thinking. And I think people need to be able to capture that thought or capture that moment because it will go away. Yeah. But that could give you a very unique concept or an idea that could help your business, right? But don't just launch into it. Take the time and learn what you need to do, how you need to do it. And you talk about business plans. 80% of people who launch businesses don't even have a business plan. They just go out on a wing and a prayer and they hope that everything's going to be successful.
Sorry, Steve.
But ultimately, those that are good are going to come back to a business plan. They're going to have a short, medium, and long-term perspective to that plan.
It was a lot different for me anyhow 17 years ago because I didn't actually go into business saying, I want to make a lot of money. I went into business saying, I want to help people. I soon learned that lesson. It's good to help people, but you still need to live and pay the bills. But the other thing is, it's so much easier today because the word mentor, I didn't know about the word mentor 17 years ago. People were too busy to say, I don't mind helping you, Linda. Yeah, but a mentor doesn't do the work for you. No, we have to make that clear.
No. And we've talked about that. Actually, I'm just in the throes of putting together a blog post on mentorship, right? Mastering mentorship. And that's one of the things, you don't just go in and expect people to give you free information and you don't do anything. It's like when my staff come into me and they have a challenge or a question, right? And I say, well, you know what? I want you to find that solution before you come to me and tell me what the question is, what you think the solution is. It could be right, it could be wrong, it could be better than what I thought of, right? But don't ask me to solve it for you. because
So
that's your responsibility.
you're actually doing the fishing thing, like you're giving them a fishing rod, are you? And they tell them to get their own fish versus doing it for them.
Right. You know, I always talk about prospecting, but it's always the concept of fishing lines in the water,
Yeah.
right? I'm always casting the bait out there, right, and see if they bite, right? I'll even do that sometimes. I'll give a staff member a challenging point because it's a learning objective too for them, right?
It's good.
You've always got to be learning.
That's
We're
a good
always
manager.
learning
That's
in
a good
business,
manager.
right?
I guess the other thing is you're not going to wake up every morning and feel motivated. You're not going to wake up every morning and think, I love my work. I mean, we all have our down days. You are also going to have to think you've got a family, maybe a partner, children. How do you fit the work in around those? If you've got a home office, we should talk about this as well. Close the door on the family and make it clear that they can't just come rushing in when you're on the phone. You've got to really, really start being professional, from day one, haven't you?
You do. You know, I always say this. I treat, sort of look at family as clients, right? I always look at my time management. I look at my schedule, and there's things that you have to schedule in there that are outside of business, right? Time with the family, even time for yourself, time for planning, time for marketing, time for just making sure that you've got everything accounted for that you can. Yeah. Because the worst thing to do is to bounce from thing to thing. So if you have an in-home office, that is a dedicated space. That has to be off limits to people, knowing that that is where I'm working. I could be out in an exterior building or
unless
some
there's
office,
an emergency, my door is
Absolutely.
closed.
But they have to understand you're in there, and that's the time that you need to put on your business.
And like women in particular, I used to be like this, but I'm not anymore. I'm really good. Go downstairs, make a cup of coffee. Oh, just empty the dishwasher. I'll just put the laundry on. No, you are. If you couldn't do that, if you were in an office, a workplace, so you can't do it now. We've got a lot of topics to delve into in more detail, but I think we've established, Steve, that starting a business takes a lot of thought. The why, the how, the when, the what. It's a lot about also connecting with people, not to sell, but to say, can you help me?
Well, that program that's on CTV called W5.
Yeah.
I said, think of W5 for your business, because those are the things you talked about, the why, the what, the how, right? All of those things have to be answered before you actually go forward and commit to being the first day of business for you, right? I think it's important because, and we've seen it so many times where people don't really do what they need to do and their businesses fail. And they've maybe got some great ideas or they've got great concepts, And something you mentioned about everybody needs to be able to get up in the morning, but they need to feel the passion for their business. There's some things that are going to take away from it. But if you don't have a true passion for being in a business, then you may need to think about that.
And believe me, it can get boring. I mean, we have to do the boring tasks. I mean, I love to write, I love to travel, but behind the scenes, I'm doing boring work as well, and people don't realise that. So it's not all fun. The money doesn't come immediately, but the money will follow you if you work hard. And it is working hard, Steve. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be one of these people who say, I'm going to wish on a star and it's all going to happen. I work hard, you work hard. Right. You can't wave a magic wand, can you?
There's no such thing as a 9-to-5 day in your business, right? You're going to be working evenings, you're going to be working early mornings, and you have to realize when you start, you've got so many things you've got to do yourself that business day will be 14, 15 hours sometimes, right?
So did you get into business to have more spare time, more holidays and more money? Or did you?
Yeah, but I think the concept there is the first few years, it required that investment, right? And certainly there are sacrifices to doing that, but ultimately it does bear fruit and it does become something that's very, very motivational.
So I wonder what topic we should talk about next time, because we've covered, the beginning of thinking about starting a business. So would it be a little bit about the business plan and, because business plans change. Right. And I guess we could delve into that a little bit more.
Without getting too deep, but I think we can start with the concept of what is a business plan.
Yeah, we can't do it all,
important components
obviously.
that people need to be looking at. Yeah. I think it's important, though, that you have that as a grounding, because you're always saying, and we're saying here, you should have a business plan. Well, people are saying, well, what is that? Right? Yeah. What are the components of it? How do we put together? Where do we get the information? What are the things we need to think about? So I think that's something that would be a good starting point.
I'm excited. I hope you're excited, Steve. And I do an excellent job of sharing this information because we've been there, done it. And I've done the hard work. I don't know whether you did the hard work. I know you work hard. So basically, we'll be back again. So tune in for another video. SBCN Small Biz Perspectives.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.